What is up, my beautiful people? Hope you're having a marvelous day, and welcome back from the weekend. Exile451 here with yet another daily dose of Reddit Happy. Let's get started with some stories from r/deciding to be better. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Turned my life around from being suicidal and depressed in 6 months. About 6 months ago, a lot of not good things happened. I wouldn't say bad things, since there are worse things happening to people. I had lost faith in everything. Above all, I had no one to talk to. I had a few friends, but wasn't really comfortable talking about a lot of things. Before that, I had asked out about 3 girls, all of them rejected. It wasn't out of desperation. I genuinely liked them. And the third one was pretty recent, and that added to the depression. My grades were failing, I was having a rough phase with my family, the fear of never being loved and forever being a loser creeped into me. Thoughts of killing myself were pretty frequent. I had actually consulted a psychiatrist, and he suggested therapy, but I felt that I could manage it. As days went by, I realized that I was responsible for the situation I was in. It wasn't the circumstances I faced, it was how I felt about it. This realization made me see everything in a different perspective. I didn't have friends, and I had to do something about it. Maybe it was a good thing I never dated any of those girls. Maybe it wasn't. But that doesn't matter. I can't force them to like me. Part of the reason of me feeling crappy were my habits also. So, I decided to change things. First off, I started talking more frequently with my family members. After all, they are the ones who will love you the most, at least for me. They realized the situation I was in and were willing to help me in any way possible. Next, I tried making some good friends, people I could trust in. Still, there were things I couldn't talk about to them, so I started writing my feelings in a diary every night. That helped a lot. I was feeling much less stressed and distracted every day. Started working out every day to feel less crappy about myself and to feel better. Started eating healthy and cut out all junk and outside food. Started meditating every day for at least 20 minutes. Quit all social media, Reddit doesn't count, and replaced it with Google News. If I had any urge to open Facebook, I just opened news and there'd be some interesting headline. It was so much more helpful in ways that I needn't had to instinctively compare myself with anyone anymore and feel insecure. Started following a strict diet because I had a goal of losing weight. Focused on academics, and I've been doing pretty good till now. I've even been able to land a great job as well. Thinking back on how things were, it's understandable why I felt that way. But none of it really matters in the long term. That actually applies to a lot of things. We constantly worry about things that won't even matter in a couple of months or years. You know, that last line, OP, speaks so much to something I remember from my time in high school. I had a math teacher my freshman year who had a sign on the door of his classroom that simply read, "What was it you were so worried about this time last year?" At the time, I still remembered because that's just who I am, but thinking back today, I honestly can't even begin to fathom what it was I was that worried about. Things that we're going through right now are almost always just things that we'll pass through eventually. And even if it's something we have to live with forever, we do eventually figure out how to manage it. Life is all about perspective. And when you step back and realize that maybe it's not everything happening against you, but it is what you're not willing to do for yourself, that you're actually able to take steps to improve it. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm so happy to hear that you're doing this much better, and wherever you're at right now, I truly do wish you the best. Starting over right now. Right down to signing up for a new Reddit account. This is going to be a complete life mulligan for me. Here's where I am today. I'm a married 42-year-old woman with 2 beautiful daughters, 19 and 8. Currently, I'm 40 pounds overweight and deeply depressed after moving to a new state and having difficulty finding work in my field. I just finished a master's degree, which I truly believed would give me a competitive edge in the job market. In my best Morgan Freeman voice, it did not. I've had a handful of interviews that all end the same way. You're overeducated for this position and not experienced enough for the one your degree says you're qualified for. All I have to show for my grad school experience is a piece of paper and some debt. My university hired me to adjunct, which is nice, but It amounts to little more than pocket change for the amount of work I've put into my course. It's online, by the way, so I don't even get to interact with my students. The real problem, however, is in how I deal with all the despair and loneliness. I've been flirting with alcoholism for about 10 years now, and my drinking has now escalated to the point at which I look forward each day to a socially acceptable time to imbibe. Some days, if I know I don't have anywhere to go, I don't even wait for that. It's just a mix of gin and tonic in my coffee tumbler and nurse it throughout the afternoon. No one in my house sees me drinking anything except a few glasses of wine with dinner. And no one has had a reason to confront me about my behavior after drinking. I'm a functioning alcoholic, I suppose. But my father was also a pro at hiding his drinking, until he had a stroke because of it. His liver eventually failed and he died in 2008. My uncle, his brother, is about to meet the same fate. Their mother was the only one of 8 children to not have some problem with alcohol dependency. To say this is in my genes is an understatement. Yet, here I am, playing with fire every single day. And for what? To not feel, of course. To not have to think about the fact that I'm languishing at home, playing happy housewife while everyone else under my roof gets to have a fulfilling existence. To quiet the voice in my head that tells me day in and day out that I am not now, nor have I ever been, good enough for anything or anyone. As soon as I woke up today, I took my hangover downstairs and poured a few $100s worth of alcohol down the kitchen sink. My husband will probably be upset that I decimated our bar, but I plan to come clean with him about the reason for it. I can't drink in moderation. I just have to abstain completely. I deleted all my social media profiles, apart from LinkedIn. Keeping them open just presented me with additional opportunities to feel inadequate. I have been going to the gym on a somewhat regular basis. I've managed to lose 20 pounds this year, and although it's not too much to do right now, I'm shaky and everything hurts. I've drafted an actual workout regimen. I also started a new blog and have mapped out a few episodes of the podcast I've been dreaming of starting, but always put off because I can't seem to indulge my creative impulses when I don't have a job. My contribution to our household is still meaningful, and it's okay to use my time productively and in a way that makes me feel whole. Maybe it'll go somewhere and be lucrative, but it probably won't. And that's just fine. I've already written a lot here, so I'll wrap it up for now. Thanks for reading, if you have, and I wish you all luck in your respective journeys to become better than you are today. You know what, OP? It's said that the first step towards fixing an addiction is to admit that you have one. And it's a good thing that you're being able to take the step back and realize this isn't healthy. What I'm doing to myself is the same thing that I've seen my father and uncle go through. To be able to recognize that and try and break the cycle is huge. You're fighting against not only yourself and your addiction, but the genetics that are within you that predispose you to that. You've got this. You can fight this. You can make yourself better. Look where you've come so far. You've lost 20 pounds this year. You're setting up a workout regimen. You've done so much to get yourself to the point where you're at. And really, the sky is the limit. Keep at this. You've got this. You are an example for anyone else who may be struggling right now with an addiction, that there is hope to overcome and have a better tomorrow. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and I truly wish that things work out for you. Finally slowing down for the first time in my life. I'm usually in a rush. I don't know what I'm rushing for or hurrying over to, but it's prevalent. Growing up on Long Island, New York, and now living and working in the city, not Manhattan, other boroughs, I think we're taught that we always have to be first. If you're not early, you're late, was a mantra in our household. My mom did it my whole life. She was always rushing, always working, always trying to get somewhere, even though she didn't know where she was going most of the time. And I'm realizing more and more how much I do the same. Every morning, I'm the first person to work by far, usually by 45 minutes to an hour. I'm at least a half hour early each day, and I convinced myself that I'm the best employee because of it. The ego is convincing for sure. So I get to work earlier than everyone and get started on my day. This isn't necessarily bad. I get uninterrupted work done, and my boss notices my promptness and rewards me for it. But I also realized I can get to work a half hour later, so on time, and still be great at my job. I've always had a feeling that I wasn't good enough, so I projected that into being the overachiever. I worked hardest, longest, and I'm basically operating like I'm on speed 24/7. I used to be addicted to Adderall, but kicked the habit 5 years ago, and I know my reason for doing this was I felt I needed to be quicker than the rest around me. I never needed it for a medical purpose. I attributed this to my nature. I need to be moving quickly, but I've come to realize something profound for my own life. I don't need to be operating this quickly. Life has been going unusually fast lately. The weeks are flying by, and I know it's because I'm older and the days are pretty similar. But I got a little freaked out by how fast it was going. I can't believe it's nearly October. The end of the decade is quickly approaching, and for some reason, I'm sprinting towards the end like I'm in a track competition. Yesterday, my boyfriend and I got stuck on the train. We got on at 7:27, my preferred time for the train we take. I was running to make it, and we did. He and I both had our headphones in and couldn't hear the announcements clearly. When we got to a certain street that's pretty close to our jobs, everyone started getting off the subway. I was perplexed. Where's everyone going? I still had my headphones in, and he goes, "We have to get off. This is the last stop the train is making." What? I have to get to work a half hour early though, were the thoughts running in my head. We got off and waited, and waited, and waited. After looking up the train, there was a switch problem and no trains would be coming to that station. There's no other subways in that stop, so we had to get off and go to another one. He was calm, although he had to get to work earlier than I do. I was livid, cursing and such about the MTA, screaming about if they knew people had to get to work. Duh, it's the rush hour. So we get to the other station and get on the train there. It's slow, really slow, because there's a switch problem. We get off the stop and I sprinted through the commons to get into work. I walked in the building at 9:10 in a panic. I darted upstairs to the conference room where my auditors were scheduling for the day. They're all there, call me without a hitch. I had worked up in my head that they wouldn't be able to get into the building without me. They'd be waiting and would hate me, that I was costing them precious time. That story wasn't true. None of the stories my head makes up when I'm stressed are true. So today, I woke up later than usual and was in a panic. It's colder in our bedroom, which has been causing me issues getting up. I've recently been getting up at 5:45/6 on the dot to do all of my meditations, book exercises, readings, and juicing celery juice. Today I got up and laid in bed at 6:50. I started to panic. Well, I can do my meditations on the train and go do celery and still get on the train by 7:27 if I rush. And then I thought, maybe I can do my meditation. I open it up and it's longer than the other days of the 30-day course. Of course it is. I had a decision. Decide to do it on the train where it's loud and not really meditative, or take my time and just go when I'm done and let my boyfriend go to work without me. He always wonders why I don't regularly leave later than him in the mornings and encourages me to because he says he would do it if it were him. I had a choice, and I chose self-care instead of rushing, so I pressed play on the meditation. 20 minutes this morning, and it was glorious. I made my celery juice and wasn't in a rush. I pulled my angel reading cards, something I rarely have time to do in the morning. I did my book exercises and morning reflection. It's something so small, but to me, it isn't. I realized I don't have to rush everywhere. I'm still on the train to get to work on time. My boss is on vacation, my coworkers always show up closer to 9:30 than 9, the auditors can clearly get into the building without me. All is well. I don't need to panic. I am divinely timed. And I chose me instead of the story in my head that says I have to rush and be quick in order to be worthy. You know, OP, it's funny how sometimes even the smallest hiccups in our routine can lead to the most profound realization. All it took was one train delay making you get to work 10 minutes late to see that none of what you thought in your head was actually the case. And good for you, you've compounded on that and taken it further. You're an example of why self-care is important, why we have to slow down and actually enjoy life, why we don't always have to be stressing about getting the things done earlier than they need to get done. Life is meant to be enjoyed, not rushed through. And it's so good that you're coming to that realization. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for being an example of why it is so important to slow down and make sure you're taking care of yourself. Wherever you're at now, I really wish you the best. That was r/deciding to be better, and if you want more of it, feel free to check out the playlist in the description below. Thank you so much for coming by today, for tuning in and watching the video. If you enjoyed what you saw, please feel free to hit that like button and subscribe so you can get more of your daily dose of Reddit happy. Now you go out there, have a great day. I will see you all tomorrow. Until then, I'm Exile451. Stay beautiful, people.